All right. Tonight I am joined by Kerri Ireland, and we will be discussing all things related to traveling and making things work, right? Because you travel a lot for your job. Yes?
Yes, yes, I do. I
Yes.
travel quite a bit.
Yes. So Kerri is a client of mine, and when she was working with me doing Restart, she was traveling like back to back, right? Like you were traveling like 4 days a week, I think, and then home and then back again. And
I was on the road every week. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Usually,
And
yeah.
still saw results. So that was the awesome part because we had to come up with some plans, right?
Yes, we did.
So tell me how your journey to better wellness began. Like what was kind of the thing that got the ball rolling for that?
So, I have never really been like a bad eater. So I've always really tried to watch what I eat. I'm not much of a sugar eater, not much of a soda pop drinker. But when I kind of seen the weight creeping on in about my 40s, didn't really think much of it. Then in my late 40s, I really seen the weight coming on and again thought, oh, it's menopause. And then I went through menopause, and that's when the weight really came on and it just stuck, and it was way more than I had ever seen before. And
Yeah.
so nothing I was doing was really changing it. I mean, obviously I was eating normally. I don't even know what normal is, tacos every Tuesday,
Right.
So, but that's when I started my menopause, and that's when I just really felt like I need to do something different because
Yeah.
what I'm doing right now is not working. And so that's when I called you.
Yes. Yes. And so you came to me actually for a bod pod,
Yes, I
right?
did. Yeah.
Yes. And so it wasn't even anything nutrition related, just like I got to get some numbers, which is totally most of the clients that I see are like, I just got to get a baseline. And with COVID, now sometimes it's a baseline again,
Yeah. Yeah.
or, whatever as it goes on. Do you remember sitting in my office that day?
I do. I remember. And I remember talking about, nutrition, and essentially we had talked about how I could eat better, because actually I had told you I just went and seen my doctor, and I had
Yes.
just gotten some test results back showing that my cholesterol was high,
Yeah.
and I actually had my glucose was pretty high too, and I
Yeah.
was just like, what,
That's a
this
wake up call, right?
yeah, it totally was. So
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you overcome barriers with your travel schedule? So, we had decided we're going to do Restart. And actually we were supposed to start during the holidays. And I was like, maybe we wait until after we get through the holidays, because I didn't want to
yeah,
set you up for failure. Right.
right,
So
exactly.
we knew though that you would be traveling and all that. So what were some of the strategies that you used and figured out to overcome those barriers? Because you're traveling time zones.
Yeah.
So you
Oh
have
yeah.
the whole travel day, and then you're in a different time zone,
Yes.
right? Like
Yeah.
2 hours ahead, I think.
Well, it depends. I remember one time you and I did a call together, and I was in Chicago, and
Yeah.
somebody else was on that call, and you're like, wow, Kelly, you've really gotten some clients in Chicago. She was like, no. So,
Yes.
so what I did was a lot of help from you, and what I've learned from you. I started meal prepping, and obviously meal prepping, and then I'm leaving. So what I started doing is researching where I was going. What hotel
Mhm.
am I staying in? What restaurants are nearby? Am I going to be renting a car, or am I going to Uber? Do I need to stop at the grocery store before I go to my hotel, or will I do Instacart?
Mhm.
So, so essentially a lot of planning, and I had gotten to the point where in my little bullet journal, I was writing
Yay.
down essentially where I was going to be, what kind of meals I was going to be able to have. If they had restaurants on site, I would go look at their menus. And at this time, most restaurants had started to open back up again.
Yeah.
But again, when I travel, I like to stay really close. I don't like to get in my car and drive to a restaurant. So I look for restaurants with hotels with restaurants on site.
Yes.
And then just, essentially meal planning. And I would literally write down, where am I going to eat? Every morning I'd wake up and look at my little checklist of, here's what I'm doing for breakfast. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm taking with me for lunch. And then here's where we're going. Here's where I'm going for dinner, or here's where I'm ordering from dinner. So
yeah, and you just have to take ownership over it. And I'm going to say, was that easy?
No, it was more work, I would say.
Yes.
So it was easy after I got into the routine of it.
Yeah.
It started to become a habit. But yeah, so when I, because before I even go to a city, I always look to see what's fun to do there.
Yes.
Well, now I look to see what restaurants are nearby. Will I be, Ubering or Instacarting or something like that? And also, does my hotel even have a microwave if I could use one or something?
And I will say, I will preface this with this is traveling for work and something that you do frequently. So it's different than vacation. So I don't want people to get the impression that this is how you nerd out on vacation, although maybe you do. But, there's a time and place to just chillax and, explore and just eat whatever is available. But if you have a targeted goal, then this amount of work is what's required to be able to see the results that you want to see.
Right.
And then you were, remind me, you were getting up to exercise 5 minutes, right?
Yes.
You started with 5 minutes.
I did. I started with 5 minutes. So I would set my alarm. If you look at my alarm, I have an iPhone with the alarms, and everything I have on my phone, I have get up at 5, do your breathing exercise. You won't regret it. I mean, literally, that's what it says on my alarm. Do your breathing. You won't regret it. Then I would get up and go downstairs to the gym, just hurry and get my clothes on, go downstairs to the gym, because every hotel has a gym. And I started with 5 minutes, just getting on the treadmill, just walking. And then it ended up being 20 minutes. Now I'll stay down there for about 30 minutes. And then I actually incorporated doing some weights now too.
Yay.
And then after the gym, then I would stop at the hotel restaurant, and I'd grab me a couple of boiled eggs and head up to my room. And it depended if I had a conference call before I headed to my clients, or if I just went to my clients. But that's essentially what I would do. So
you just found your routine.
Yeah.
There was something I was going to ask you, and it just escaped me. So my question is, yes. So how many mornings were you super excited to jump out of bed and do this?
Well, it's different when I'm on the road versus when I'm home. So when I'm on the road, I'm actually kind of just want to get out and get a routine going. And I don't have to worry about waking anybody up. I don't have to worry about anything else at home. When I'm home, it's a totally different story. I still find myself hitting the snooze a little bit or something, but when I'm on the road,
it's finding that balance. Right? I mean, and that in and of itself, being at home is a barrier, right? Because most of the week you're doing your own thing, and it's easy to be in control when we only have to worry about ourselves. But then you get home and there's other people, and there's a different schedule, and it's just not as, in some ways, not as easy as it is when you have at a hotel everything right there for you.
Everything's right there for me. Everything's all organized and everything at my hotel. I get home and everywhere.
Now, and you typically, when you are traveling, are you at the same brand of hotels, so you kind of know what they have?
So I mostly will stay at the Hiltons. But once in a great while, I'll go to a really small town that doesn't have a great place to stay. And so just a really quick story with that is, I actually went to La Crete, Alberta, which is North Canada, North Alberta. And it took when I got there was only one restaurant in town. There was a motel in town. It was a
Yeah.
farm town. Nowhere else to go. I was
Yeah.
stuck with just this one restaurant.
Yeah.
And so, I've been in a few situations like that before. You're just really remote, and you just got to roll with the punches.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I mean, that's life for a lot of people, right? If you don't live in a mid or large size city, you don't have a lot of options. So a lot of it does require that planning and prep, whether you have to drive, if
Mhm.
you live out in the country and you have to drive a half hour to the store and you don't have the luxury of being able to just pop in, like, oh, I forgot, whatever, right? It's a lot of planning and prepping, just like what
Yes.
you're doing. It's just more of like a life thing. I couldn't live out in the country, and my friends that do know this about me because I am super bad about, like, oh, I forgot milk, like the one thing I went for. I got a bunch of other stuff, but not the one thing I went for. So my family would be without on a lot of things if I lived out in the country. So all right. So the bigger part that's affected everybody is, did the pandemic affect your weight loss efforts, or how did it affect those efforts?
I honestly don't think it did, because nothing changed with my job when it came to the pandemic. Nothing
Yeah.
changed. I was still working. I think I was home for 3 months before I got back on the road again. So
Yeah.
I think probably during that time, I did kind of stop and focus a little more on meal prepping, because I'm home. I love to meal prep when I'm
Mhm.
home.
Yeah.
So I know I definitely didn't put any weight on during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I think it just helped me kind of get more into a routine.
Yeah. Yeah. And for you, like we were talking before we started recording, that you've done this for, what did you say, almost 18 years,
Yes.
with the traveling and working remote. So like everyone's just kind of jumping on board with what you've been doing.
Yeah, I think the only thing about the pandemic that for me was frustrating was everybody's working from home now, and my Wi-Fi just started dropping down. The
Oh no.
speed started
Yes.
dropping down, because now I
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
all the kids on Wi-Fi, all the neighbors
Yeah.
are on Wi-Fi, and I was just like, "Hey guys, I've
Yeah.
been doing this for 18 years. I was here
Off
first."
my Wi-Fi. That's funny. All right. What is your go-to snack if you're traveling to keep you on plan? Like I know, like you're going through airports, right? And you
Yeah,
have that whole
yeah,
getting there, getting settled thing.
yeah. So because when you're on an airplane, they'll give you snacks, or if you're in an airport, then you have to buy snacks, and they're really expensive. I've actually gotten to the point now where I make my own little mini snack packs to go, kind of like a trail mix pack with me,
Yay.
and that way I'm not eating something that I don't know what it is. And also, if I have to pay for it, then I have to pay for it. So really, just something really healthy that I can take through TSA with me.
Mhm.
And I get flagged a lot going through TSA because of the food that I have in my bag. So
Yes.
what I
Yep.
do now is I have a bag, a lunch pail. It looks like a lunch pail, but it fits inside my suitcase. So I have a lunch pail that I take with me, and I leave it out when I go through security.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that way everything else can go through, and then they'll flag that, and then they'll open it up and do whatever it
Realize
is
it's
they do with
food.
it. Yeah. Do whatever it
I
is
get
they do
pulled
with it.
over by TSA all the time because I'm the food carrier when the family travels.
Right.
And, because you get like 2 items or whatever. So I end up carrying everybody's food. And I get stopped every single time
Yeah.
because
They said
I
it
have,
looks bulky and looks like if I have my protein packs with me, and I
yeah.
don't do, so obviously if I take protein with me, I take the powder with me, because you
Mhm.
can't take liquid through, right? So I take
Right. Yeah.
powders with me, and then I'll mix it up later. And that usually I just try my best, and just not make it look all bulky in there. And now I just put it in a separate bag and just let it go through, because they
Yeah.
always flag it. And then I learned not to keep it all in the same, like I would put it all in a big Ziploc bag. Well,
Yeah.
if it tested bad, they'd throw the whole thing away.
Oh no. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, so now
Yeah.
I pack them all individually in their own little Ziploc bags,
Yeah.
in little plastic containers, but still in a Ziploc bag in case they break open in my suitcase.
Right. Yeah.
So,
That's good to know.
yeah, and then after I get through security, then I can either make up a protein drink with just water, and then I got my snacks with me too. So
Yes, you got to have
yeah.
snacks. Not very
Either
often
that
do
or
I
you're
want
gonna
to
be
like,
eating those cookies on the airplane, and those things are full of
yeah,
sugar.
yes, yeah, for sure. It's not like gone are the days when they gave you like real food. When I was a kid, I remember getting like, we were going to Vegas and they gave us like ice cream. It was like a blizzard, like ice cream in a cup thing. I've never had that again. It
Oh,
was it
really?
was it was a while ago. I'm just
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get that
I
anymore.
actually
So
do remember that. Yeah.
maybe you have to upgrade now probably to get that. But all right. So when life happens, how do you get back on track? So when you do get home, right, and you're like, oh, I want to hit the snooze button, or maybe you do hit the snooze
Yeah.
button, whatever. How do you get back on track?
I just, to be honest with you, I just literally just have to do it. I'll sit down and I'll just make a list. I'm a list
Mhm.
person, and I'll just make a
Yeah.
list of everything that I need to do to get back on track, and make, am I going to go shopping and start getting my meals prepped, start getting up earlier. Um, when it's kind of, and my schedule fluctuates so much, it's not
Mhm.
like I get up every morning at 5 in the morning and I got to be at work at 7. My
Right.
schedule fluctuates whether I'm home or on the road. And
Mhm.
so I just have a time that I get up and just have to do it. And usually what I'll do is I'll tell my husband, and I'll tell
Mhm.
him, I say, okay, I'm getting up with you in the morning, because he gets up at
Yeah.
4:30 every morning. I'm getting up with you in the morning. Make sure I get up with you.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. That's good
he'll,
accountability.
yeah, and he'll go, are you getting up? I'm like, yes. I'm getting up. And then I get
I
up,
was
and
gonna
now I'm
say,
up
does
with
he like that job? Because I might say that to my spouse, but then when the alarm goes off, I'll be like, leave me alone, let me
yeah,
sleep.
no, that's literally my thing with him. Is I tell him, make sure I get up. Don't let me
Yeah.
talk myself out of not getting up. So
Yes, good for him. I
yeah.
love that. And I love that he's willing to do that,
Oh yeah.
to support you. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. So back to when we were sitting in my office and you had your bod pod and we were going over the results and talking about nutrition and the doctor and all that. What piece of advice would you give someone else if they were like in that same position or mindset where you were when we were first in my office?
Well, I feel like I was really in a good, I feel like when I went in, I just wanted some numbers. But after you gave me my numbers, I was like, okay, I need to make some more changes, because we had
Mhm.
even talked about that, even though the nutrition probably is good, but it could be better. And
Mhm.
then really I needed to incorporate some exercise with that.
Yeah.
So I would just tell people to just be open-minded, um, get ready, set your goals, make a list of things that you do want to change, but how you're going to change it. And it's,
Mhm.
what are you going to change about your diet? Because it's not like, I'm going through this with my girlfriend right now. It's not a diet. It's a change of what you're eating. So
Mhm. Yeah.
instead of eating white bread, go to wheat bread,
Right.
instead of eating, a whole watermelon,
Right.
eat just a
Right.
few slices of a watermelon. So,
Yeah. And wouldn't you
yeah,
say, like I've had other clients say that have done restart that after like kind of part of the diet culture of tracking calories and macros and weighing and measuring, having where you weren't supposed to do that at all is a little bit freeing in some
yeah,
respects. I think a lot of people struggle at first. They're like, what do you mean I eat this and I don't weigh it? Right? Like I'm just going
right,
to eat it.
right.
But it's a little bit freeing to be able to just nourish our body and be able to give it what it needs without having to track,
Yeah, no,
specifically
exactly.
weigh and
Yeah.
measure.
Not,
Yeah.
I didn't measure, I didn't track. I just knew everything I was eating was clean. I didn't
Yeah.
eat anything processed during that time period at all. And I'm back at that again. I'm back at that, obviously life happens. And for the last 2 weeks, I've been stopping and thinking about everything that I put into my mouth.
Yeah.
Where was this made? Is it, you know, who made this, what's actually in it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
more, you know, looking at the labels and the sugar. I didn't know anything about sugar and ingredients until we went through that class together and
Yeah.
learning all of the different things
It's
about.
eye-opening, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
how much sugars and stuff and all the different labels for it and how
yeah,
it affects your health. And specifically in Restart, we talk about your gut health.
yeah.
But you know, a lot of other things. It's kind of scary, especially with like sugar alcohols, and how there are so many names for sugar.
Mhm.
And once you know them or you start to recognize them, you read the label and you're like, what the heck? There's like 5 sugars in here, right? But they
Yeah,
all have different names. It's like the first 5 ingredients.
right, right.
Or just various sugars, right? Or sugar alcohols. So, and we talk a little bit about like too good to be true foods, right? Like that sugar
Yeah,
free cheesecake is not sugar free. It might not have
right.
table sugar in it, right? But it has that sweetener in some way. Um, I think that's it. I was trying to think if there was one more question I had, but my brain is escaping me for right now. So um, I thank you, Kerri, for having this little chat with me. And I'm sure a lot of people will find this of value just because, like I said, it was a lot of you found success without diet culture,
Yeah.
and getting away from essentially dieting, and doing the weighing and measuring and assigning a numerical value to food. We just worked
Mhm.
on nourishing your body, in a totally sustainable way. So, like you said, going back to it, being able to like kind of pull the reins back and go like, what did I do before when I felt really good, you know,
Exactly.
sort of
Yeah.
thing. Alrighty, my friend. Thank you and
Thank
have a good
you.
night.
All right. Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.